Good evening for some, good afternoon for others, and good morning for one who are here today. I'm Nick Rishwain. This is Social Chatter, episode 101. I'm here with Christian Karasevich, and our guest tonight is Lauren Bartley of Impactive 8, doing social media marketing for clients in Australia and the U.S., mostly, as she was telling me before we got started here, mostly Facebook and Instagram marketing. Lauren, tell us a little bit about yourself and about how you got into social media marketing.
Yeah, I kind of fell into it initially. I was working in a lot of sport, and basically a lot of the organisations I was working with were really keen to learn about these new technologies that were coming out. And I was actually working at Masters to Me Australia at the time. I was the CEO, and they, the board of kind of 50 plus, I think I'd say, maybe that's a little polite, were basically said, oh, how do we get in contact with these younger swimmers? Because Masters Swimming actually starts at the age of 18 in Australia. I said, have you heard of this thing called Facebook and YouTube? That's where they're all hanging out these days. And they're like, no, can you go check that out? So I did, and I started really kind of learning about different ways that you could attract and build communities in the sporting sector. And before I knew it, people were coming to me more for my social media skills than my knowledge in sport. And it just grew from there. So because I did have a few clients at the time because it was a part-time role, but then after a little bit of time I kind of went, hang on a second, my business is called Sporting Matrix Consultancy. Most of the clients I have now have nothing to do with sport, and that's when back in 2011, after doing it for about 2 years, I said something's got to change. And so I launched Impactive 8, sacked all my clients that weren't using me for social media services, and haven't looked back.
All right. Excellent. Christian, how are you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic, actually.
Or this morning.
Yeah. And I know we got a little, a change in show time this week. Doing great, actually. So really glad to see everybody. Happy to talk about a lot of the news this week.
Lots of good stuff today. Lots of good stuff this week. So
yes.
Shall we jump right in?
Let's go and
let's do it.
We'll hopefully have some of our regular users or visitors, attendees show up tonight, but we did probably throw them off a little bit by the change in time. So our first piece of news today comes from Adweek, and it's dealing with Pinterest. And this comes from August 8th, and it's saying that Pinterest unleashes video ads for all advertisers with third-party measurement partners. So a year after tests with advertisers began, Pinterest is rolling out video ads to all advertisers targeted for both search results and feeds. Pinterest joins a growing number of companies, including Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Snapchat, that are gunning for lucrative video dollars. But while marketers have scrutinized measurement and inaccurate stats and platforms have rushed to keep pace, Pinterest is hoping to sidestep at least some of the initial measurement issues by inking deals with Moat and Nielsen that allow marketers to vet metrics through third parties. We've seen this as an issue with Facebook previously. So Pinterest started testing promoted video last August with brands including General Mills, Kate Spade, New York, and Universal Pictures. Since then, it has moved to autoplay, a format brought into mainstream by Facebook, and began placing video ads within search results and feeds. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let's go with you, Christian, since I'm hosting tonight. You're usually the tech guy, so let's spin it around a little bit here. Christian, what are your thoughts on this?
So overall, I'm really glad that Pinterest is using data to actually say, hey, you know what, we should go into video, especially video ads. I'm intrigued to see how this is going to work out. I think that Pinterest, Pinterest is kind of that whole dark horse of social. I think they really know what they're doing. And they're not just saying, hey, let's just jump on the video bandwagon because everybody seems to be doing video. There seems to be a purpose behind why they're doing, why they're making their moves. And I think it's a really smart move on their part. Consumers are going to win out.
Yeah, I think that's good. And Lauren, how about you? Are you a Pinterest user, and how do you see this? Do you think this is beneficial?
Well, interestingly, I don't use Pinterest very much for my own business, but I use it a lot personally. I have a bit of a kind of hobby of my own, which is making cards when I do get some downtime. It's not very often, but I've got all the stuff. I make them occasionally, but I do like Pinterest to go and find things to get inspiration for the cards that I make. And so I watch, I think from the point of view of learning techniques and all that kind of stuff from my card making, like it's really seeing the video content works well for me. So that's more from as a personal user point of view. But the thing I find with my clients that are using Pinterest advertising is that the lifespan of something that is pinned, that's come off an ad, is really powerful, in terms of once they see that ad, if they pin it to their board, it's there for eternity pretty much. So if you're using video ads and they're, auto playing Harry Potter in the news feed style kind of thing, then it's kind of, it's going to attract people's attention. And if you attract people's attention, they're probably more likely to pin it. And then if they do pin it to their board, the reach that it can get off the back of that is, as exponential. So I think it could be pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think you made some good points there. If it's pinned to the board and it's auto playing every time they visit that, that's a lot of visibility for that particular ad, huh? Or for that particular pin. I wish I had something to add here, but we don't use Pinterest for in business, for the business that I'm in, and I'm not a big personal user, but this story, and we'd been a while since we'd covered Pinterest, Christian, but it reminded me that I did want to go back to it. I do have a personal account with them, and I did want to go back to it because they were doing some really innovative artificial intelligence items with video. And so this just reminded me that I meant to do that a while back. So they're certainly moving in some good directions here. And you're right. They didn't jump on the video bandwagon like everybody else did. They took their time with it.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I think Pinterest is I think it's kind of, one of those things that people forget about, but it works wonders for your business. I mean, it's got, like Lauren mentioned, it has a really long shelf life, whereas, like a tweet is a couple of seconds, maybe a couple of minutes. Facebook is, around that as well. Snapchat, obviously doing something right. A lot of people, they can get a lot of traffic off of Pinterest.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. And that leads into our second story for tonight, which is also a Pinterest story. And this comes from 9 to 5 Mac, and this article came out yesterday, which is Pinterest adds pinch to zoom on pins for iOS app, visual search improvements, it looks like. So Pinterest is finally adding a long requested feature with the ability to zoom in on pins using a pinch to zoom gesture on your iPhone or iPad. In addition, the company announced yesterday that it has refreshed its visual search features, as it also brings it to all web users, including those without a Pinterest account, via its browser extension for Chrome. So they say that they've made some improvements to the tool based on feedback that they've heard from pinners. They updated the button so it's clearer, especially for people who are new to Pinterest, and moved it so it's a little easier to reach, and it's working too. In early tests of the improved button, nearly 70% people used the visual search tool. So, in the visual search tool, I think, was one of those things that I was really impressed by, one of their advancements that I was really impressed by. I think pinch to zoom, it surprises me that they did not have this already, but I know Instagram was really slow to get this feature, and I find that a little bizarre, but I guess better late than never. Christian, what are your thoughts?
I will say this, it surprises me a whole lot that a lot of tools besides Pinterest don't have that whole pinch to zoom option. For instance, Instagram didn't have it for the longest time. It's really annoying. Mm-hmm. But overall, I will say pinch to zoom really, really handy, because I like how the way it works, you can actually zoom in on things and get more details of it. So it's not like I have to like pinch and then I have to tap or any of that kind of stuff. I literally just pinch, and as I'm pinching, it's picking up the fact that I am, it's picking up the fact that I am interested in, obviously like that item I'm zooming in on, and it shows me the results versus I have to now search for it once I pinch on it, and then I kind of have to tell them that. So I like that Pinterest is taking a lot of the guesswork out of it, make it really easy to use. The visual search works fantastic. I think that's really, I just am amazed at how easy it is to use.
Yeah. Have you used it? Have you liked what you see there?
I do like what I see there. Yeah. And I like the fact that it lets me find things that I'm looking for without, for instance, having to say like, hey, for instance, if I'm like, hey, what kind of shirt is Nick wearing there? Or what kind of microphone is that? That I'm able to at least have it recommend things versus have to spend all my time guessing what in the world is that.
That's right. That's a good point. And Lauren, what are your thoughts on this, the pinch to zoom?
Well, like the two of you, I was just like, don't they have that already? Like, surely, what took them so long? So, it just needed to be there. So it's great that they've finally come through with that. And in regards to, I think I've got a bit of a different opinion in regards to the kind of visual discovery stuff because, and maybe it's the type of articles that I search for and the images that come up, but I will go and look for things that are related. And because the image, let's say it's a blog post that I've found and I search for the image, then it doesn't really, like all the results are so irrelevant that it isn't kind of relevant to me. But if I was looking for, a particular item that was perhaps for sale or something similar to what Christian said, then it's useful in that regard. So I think it's from my experience and what I just, had a bit of a play with it, it's a bit kind of hit and miss. So some of the results are going to be really random and irrelevant. And if you're happy to sift through that, then, it can be useful.
Yeah, I agree. I think these are good advancements, but and one of them is long past due. I think we all agree, as it was long past due for Instagram. Yes. Our next item comes from Moshe Isakian, who was a former guest of ours and always catches these things, doesn't he, Christian?
He seems to, yes.
He really pays close attention to new features that are coming out. And this is a Facebook feature that he identified. Did you post that in the chat? Also, I want to welcome Don and Morris. Thanks for being here. Sorry, I know this is a different time and a different place, but we're trying something new. So he noticed in the Facebook app, Facebook is introducing a new custom audience soon, and it's called Store Visits. Now, he posted a picture of this on his Twitter account, but Store Visits looks like create a list of people who have previously visited your business locations. So this looks like a list feature, sort of a follow-up feature. You've got those leads already that you could follow up with them and maybe make them some offerings. Is that how I'm to read this, Christian?
That's basically what it would probably likely be. Again, not a lot's known about this. But basically what it does is it lets you create an audience based on or create a list of people who've previously visited your business's location. And so typically, it's going to be for the brick and mortar business. They're going to be able to, they can tap into like other features when people are local in their business. So then they can capture that data and then create a list based off that. And the custom audience basically is then saying, hey, I can upload this, to my Facebook ads and target people based on their specifications. I'll let Lauren also mention that as well, because I know she does a lot with Facebook ads as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't actually have access to this feature yet. Do either of you have access?
Not that I'm aware of. I did not see it in my app, so no, I don't have this access.
Yeah. Well, I never know. Being in Australia, sometimes we get things first because Facebook likes to try them on us first, a smaller audience, and sometimes we get things last. So this might be one of those things that we get a little later. But I'm a little bit confused as to the difference between this and just a normal customer file, because you could do the same thing with a customer file. So once this is released, I'd be keen to see if there's any additional functionality that comes with it, if you can put in like the date they visited or something like that, that allows you to do a little bit more with it. Otherwise, it seems a little bit redundant because you could already do that through a customer file. So I think it's a bit of a watch this space for me.
Can you explain the customer file, by the way?
Yeah, okay. So a customer file, basically what you can do is you can upload a list of your current customers or maybe some prospective customers, people on your email list that have opted in for particular ebooks or watched a webinar or something like that. And then you can use it for retargeting purposes. So let's say you did a webinar and you had a couple of hundred people that attended, and then you could upload that customer list and then retarget those people to put the product that you were pitching on the webinar back in front of them. So that's one of the ways that you can use it. But you can also use it as the base audience to generate a lookalike audience. So that is quite often how people will need to use it, because their email list might not be very big. So if you do only have a couple of hundred people that are on your customer list or whichever list you wish to upload, then usually Facebook will come back and say, I'm sorry, the audience is too small, or you'll try to start advertising with it and you'll find that you'll exhaust that audience too quickly because, you'll use up all your budget. You'll start being seen 2 or 3 times a day within a very short period of time if you've got a, $50, $100 kind of to put to it. So that's where the lookalike audiences can be really powerful, because it'll go and find other people who look like the people on that customer list that you already had.
Very good explanation for what that is. So that does make me wonder, what will they be using this new store visits from?
I'm wondering. So here's the thing. I'm wondering, like, while you, for instance, can go and upload a customer file. By the way, if you're going to do that, and Lauren, feel free to chime in. But if you're going to upload a customer file, I would say be very careful about, if you upload it and it doesn't work, like the first time, or you get some sort of error, don't just keep uploading and uploading and uploading, because Facebook actually will block you from using that feature for a little while. So, I would just say be very cautious of that. Make sure you have as clean of a list as possible, people that, actually opted into your, into your website, your newsletter, whatever have you.
Excellent points. Excellent points. Let's move on. Did I lose you there, Christian? Were you still saying something and I didn't hear that? I saw, or am I just seeing a little delay on your end?
There's a little delay, actually.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. So our next item is also from Facebook, and this came out August 15th, and making Newsfeed an easier place to connect and navigate, which it has gotten a little noisy over on the Newsfeed. Every person's newsfeed is different and populated with a unique set of stories, from photos and videos to GIFs and links. With so many types of stories available, each feed is more complex than ever. Correct. They got that right. In order to make Newsfeed more conversational and easier to read and navigate, we'll be making a few updates to its design over the coming weeks. So, what are those? They said better conversations. We're always working to help people have more lively and expressive conversations. More and more comments have become the way to have conversations about a post with other people. We've updated our comment style and made it easier to see which comments are direct replies to another person. And let me, was that one of our guests who may not be on mute here?
Sorry, that was me.
Oh, it is you. Something. Okay. Just making sure. So, yeah, they've also said that they're improved readability. They're making updates to refresh the look and feel of the newsfeed. Oh, good, Christian, you pulled that up.
Yes.
Although it does prevent me from reading the remaining.
Okay.
Nick, I was just going to say something on this. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at this and I can't see much difference other than design.
Very little difference. Very little.
To me, when they say they make it easier to show who's responded to who, they haven't given us some very good examples here to demonstrate that. All I can see now is that we've got speech bubbles and we've got circle profile pictures. I can't actually see like a better readability and better understanding of who said what. to who?
No, because it looks like when I'm looking at Patty Overwood in both of his, that looks like Patty Overwood. It doesn't really give me any sort of indication as to how this has improved readability, unless the design is easier on the eye in the long run. I'm not sure what I see there as being of any value.
So I actually think on this, I think you all are absolutely right. A lot of these are cosmetic changes. But I think part of it is, Facebook's also trying to move towards just being a place that people go to, like almost integrating directly into your, for example, like this looks very this looks very iMessage-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And chat bubble thing and whatnot. They've changed the icons. Honestly, this reminds me of, there's a feature on your iPhone called dark mode, where basically the phone switches based on, like what time of day it is, and the lighting and whatnot that'll come in. So like it makes it easier to read, but it doesn't really change anything from a business. I mean, that doesn't change anything really. The only thing that really changes is the circular profile. You just need to change your profile picture to make it look better, make sure it fits, within that thought bubble. But, within the profile photo. But aside from that, I don't really great. They changed the icons. They give you larger link previews, which are good. The one thing I think, though, that they actually kind of are doing that's a little bit different, I want to kind of scroll down to this part, which is the whole like easier navigation. I think that's the part, to me, at least if I'm a business, that's the part that I need to be the most concerned with. And the reason why is Facebook's also trying to weed out people sharing, fake news, but also sharing links, for instance, that are kind of clickbaity, like not just like in headline nature, but in somebody clicking something, thinking they're getting something, and then it's just, like a really bad landing page or something. They're making it easier now where like I don't tap on a link, but I can actually see where it goes and then quickly go back if I need to.
Right.
This way I don't have to like leave Facebook, go to a browser, find out, oh, it's not the right experience. It's not the right web page I thought I was going to get. That I think is what's going to really be important.
One of the things about that you just mentioned, I've also noticed, and we talked about this in a mastermind group that Morris and I are in together, that Mitch Jackson had pointed out that he had posted something with a link in it, a news article that he wanted to share with friends on his personal profile, and nobody saw it. Nobody commented. So we're noticing that there is, in personal profiles, if you're posting something with links, and we tested it out a little bit, it seems to be that if you're posting something with a link, it isn't getting seen very easily.
I was going to say something on this in terms of the whole what's going on with links at the moment, particularly from a business that, like when you're sharing it as a business, about a month back or whatever it was, they made changes so that you could no longer change the images or the description that goes alongside the any links that you shared. And I'm finding for my clients that is creating an absolute headache for them. And in looking at this view here, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but the image that it's pulling in looks slightly like taller. So at the moment, if you're sharing images, that it pulls in like 1,200 by 628. I really hope they're not going to change those dimensions, because what I've been doing and recommending to my clients for years is that they have a featured image on their blog post or whatever content they want sharing that is in those dimensions, and then it automatically pulls it in. And the problem that I'm finding with a lot of my clients at the moment is those that haven't done that, now every time they want to share something from their blog post, from their website, it's pulling in and it's looking terrible because it's just pulling in random images or no images at all if they don't have any. Before they could have changed that and made it look pretty, now they have to go back to the source and change it. And if it's someone else's content that they're sharing, they can't change it to make it look more visually appealing in the newsfeed. So I've got some concerns around like these changes Facebook's making to reduce the clickbait issue and the fake news issue more so, and moving, as we can see there, taster.com from underneath the article to the top of the article. I think that's their way of trying to make it more prominent. And the other things they're doing where you can't change this stuff and making it trying to reduce those issues. But I actually think it's going to make uglier news feed because people can't, like, we can't change these things that make it more visually appealing for our readers, which is going to either make it uglier, decrease engagement, and then as a result, possibly decrease our reach. So I don't know. I don't like it.
So I want to actually chime in on that real quick, actually. So one thing I want to mention, is that, for example, I'm not really a fan. I completely agree with those points. I think those are fantastic points, Lauren. I don't like the fact that I see that it's coming from taster.com at the top above the headline. I don't know. To me, I want the website to be there, but I actually want the original. And I say that because the important part is not where the content is coming from. I don't care that it's coming from taster.com. I want to know that the content that's being shared, like I'm looking at articles. I'm going to see article. I'm going to see all that stuff. I don't care that it's coming from taster.com. Now, speaking of, though, how people can be like, how if Facebook like locks you out of being able to change your images and that sort of stuff. I actually think that, honestly, like that doesn't bother me as much. I mean, it does in the fact that like businesses aren't taking the time to create the proper images for their website or their blog post. That is my bigger concern with this. The good thing is, I did drop a link in there, but there's a tool, it's called Social Warfare. It adds social media buttons to your blog very easily. But what it really does, which I think is its standout feature, is it gives you the ability to specify the images that your blog post shows for Facebook, for Twitter, for LinkedIn, for Pinterest, and so forth. So that when somebody shares it, that image is what it's being pulled. So it really puts the responsibility on the business owner when they are creating any sort of content that they have a plan in place for their images. Personally, I mean, here at Social Chefs, every single blog post that we put up has that's part of our workflow. Every single blog post has the images specified so that when they're shared, that all is taken care of. So that's where I'd kind of put the responsibility on the business owner that they do need to get up to speed on that.
I would want to take a second, and if you'll screen share here in just a second, Christian, but I want to take a second on that taster.com picture and go, this is a terrible picture for their example. Like, I can't tell why is this giant bar through the middle. Now I get that's probably there's bread on top and then there's the shelf and there's bread on bottom. This is just a terrible picture for them to make their example with. I mean, like, why? It's just so distracting with that big shelf in the middle of it. That's really what's sticking out to me here. I'm like, I'm going to skim past this one no matter what. So I'm not sure that the any alteration in how it looks is actually going to be seen. It's really distracting.
Oh, and then what's kind of interesting if you look at this is if you look at I just noticed this. If you look at the title, it's like Jasper's. And again, this must be completely photoshopped. Jasper's Market opens up its fourth shop next weekend in San Francisco on the left. And I guess the after picture, they apparently removed characters because they forgot the D on the weekend in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But so I agree with you. I think one thing we can tell from this entire article is that all of Facebook's examples are pretty bad. They really need to do a better job in explaining things visually. But can you see that as well, where it looks like that image is just a little bit taller? Because you just said, Christian, it's like if we've all these plugins you're talking about. I also recommend another one if you're using SEO, Yoast SEO. You can do similar in there where you can go in and choose how you want it to be shared. So all those tools are going to need to reconfigure or something if that is a slight change. And I've just got my fingers crossed, hoping that it isn't. Please, Facebook, don't change that.
Right. And Christian, if you'll in the screen share, and I can, I think we've beat this one to death. Significant. Any other changes, I would recommend people go and take a look, but I'm not sure that any of them are so significant as to, they're saying easier navigation, but I don't see anything particular. It's all cosmetic, as we said at the beginning of this one. Our next story here is the YouTube official blog introducing a new way to share your YouTube videos. And this is from their blog, and this came out last week. Remember the first time you heard the opening beats of Despacito, your ears perked up, your foot unconsciously tapping beneath the table. Like every This has never been my experience with Despacito. Like every Despacito loving person before you, you can't help but dance. And when you finally caught your breath, you had to share it with all your friends. It would be wrong to keep something this good to yourself. Like chats around the water cooler, shouldn't sharing a video be as easy as saying, have you heard this new song? So we've been experimenting with a better way to share videos on YouTube since last year. Thanks to all your feedback, we've made some improvements and are now ready to roll out this new sharing feature to all users globally. Starting, this was August 7th, you can share videos with your friends and family directly on YouTube. Not only can you share and receive videos in the app, you can also chat about them right on YouTube, reply with another video, invite others to the conversation, and more. I think it'll make sharing videos easier, faster, and more fun on your phone. And if you want to continue sharing videos through other apps, you can still do that too. So this is surprisingly something. So it's them trying to make YouTube more social, as I would read it, and keep people in the app. Because that's usually right. You tell somebody, oh, you got to see this video. I go to YouTube, I find it, I send the video, and I get out of the app. So that's what I see happening here. What are your thoughts, Lauren?
Yeah, I agree. If I ever find a video on YouTube that I like, I'll take the link and go and share it on Facebook. So they have to do something to keep people in there and using their ecosystem, particularly given the priority that Facebook's giving to video in their newsfeed now. And, I've seen a lot of businesses in particular now that are questioning why they even need to put it on YouTube, because they put it on YouTube primarily to embed it in their on their website and hoping that they'll get some Google juice in YouTube and that it'll get seen, but they don't do a good enough job, so it never does anyway. So then they're like, well, what's the extra step for? I've put it to Facebook anyway. Why can't I just embed it from Facebook and put it into YouTube? So there's lots of things that are taking people away from using YouTube from a Facebook perspective. So YouTube had to step up and do something in return, and I think this is just their response. How effective it will be, I don't know. It just depends how many people are really going to be actively using and communicating on that channel. And personally, I've got enough channels. I don't want to kind of, do that.
Yeah, I feel like this is maybe a little too late on that, but you never know. I mean, I know that I go to YouTube quite often. So if I find that the user experience is not that difficult, I might find myself spending more time over there. I want to take a second to thank everybody who has come over to join us on Zoom tonight. So Barb Tomlin's here. We got Danica Woolley's here. Don Bell, Morris Lilienthal, Ruth Morrison, and Chris Bear. So thank you all for joining. Christian, what are your thoughts on this? I think you're muted, Christian. I may have done that on accident.
Oh, no worries at all. I think overall, I think that this is a really good. I think it's too late for YouTube to be doing this. I will say though, I like how this works. I think it works fantastic. Super, super, super easy. Like if I'm a business, for example. And here's the thing, she's always preaching like building relationships, right? And that's really like an important point here, because if I'm going to go, upload a video, for example, like I don't need to treat my relationships with customers as, oh, hey, they're a customer and they only get this type of attention and then my friends get this type of attention. I need to actually be treating everybody, equally. And essentially what that means is, for example, if I'm watching a video and I'm friends with my customers, like, it's good to let people get to know you, that sort of stuff, but be friends with your customers so that if I am watching a video on YouTube and I want to share this with them, it's an extra step, to go post it on Facebook, that sort of stuff. But now I can do it right from YouTube and I can tag those people. And that way it will bring them there. And, maybe it ends up being a long list. Like we did it tonight with this show. We put people's names in the comments and tag them. But I think having that in YouTube will be fantastic. If you are building their relationships with your customers, that's where I think that, it's going to be really useful for them.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Now, I am friends with some of our audience members, and I got to tell you, it's not that rewarding. So, don't necessarily become friends with your customers. It's I've got Behrman and Danica and Morris here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Love you, but it's just not that rewarding. They all know that I'm kidding, and we will move on to to Snapchat CrowdSurf. This is, of course, for those of us who are Snapchatters, and we do have several of them here. This is out of TechCrunch and what day did this come out? August 14th. So this came out this week. And Snapchat CrowdSurf stitches together everyone's concert videos. Now, I heard that when I saw this released, I heard that the first one was a little rough, but they've got a new trick to stay one step ahead of Instagram by turning everyone's quick video clips from a concert in a much more watchable music video you control. Snapchat CrowdSurf uses artificial intelligence, machine learning technology to analyze when lots of people are all recording the same musical performance at the same time. It can then lace together the different angles while keeping the song playing smoothly, so you can choose where to watch from and see more than 10 seconds of footage in a row. You can see a demo recorded by TechCrunch below. Snap tested out CrowdSurf at pop singer Lord's performance in San Francisco on August 13th at Outside Lands, and she played her hit Green Light, and everyone thrusted their phones in the air. Snapchat combined the clips. You can watch a CrowdSurf in the Snapchat featured section below your friends' recent stories, and tap to see a new angle whenever the flipping phone CrowdSurf icon is lit up. So I think this is really cool. I've heard that I did not watch this performance that they strung together for this, but I heard that it was a little bit rough to begin with, but this was their first major test of it. What it's supposed to be able to do is that anytime somebody is snapping from one particular area or another, it's going to string all those together. They said, and they focused on concerts. That was where they're using CrowdSurf right now, although you can see this happening at any sort of a sporting event. Based on location services, they're going to be able to take all those snaps from there, string them together into the pretty amazing story. So, Christian, what are your thoughts?
I think this is a really cool feature. I think it's really neat because it finally gives you a way to take all that footage and turn it into something. I mean, if I'm a business, I realize this is only for music videos and whatnot right now, or mainly that's what they're doing, or musicians, concerts. But I think, for example, if I'm at let's say I'm putting on an event or a conference, I could easily do something like this and string together a whole bunch of people that are snapping at the event. To have essentially a very neat, what's it called, a compilation video and whatnot, to be able, without having to say, well, hey, hold on, we're going to have that a couple weeks after the event. Instead, I can do it in real time.
I like it. Lauren, what are your thoughts on this?
Sorry. I think it's actually really smart what they've done, because they've released this at a concert. Their demographic is the people who go to concerts regularly. It's the kind of thing that they would love. And so I think from a marketing perspective, just watching how they're rolling this out, I think they've done a good job. I'm like, well, how long till Facebook goes and, clones this and uses it on Instagram or on Facebook itself? I think time will just tell, and it'll come into other places. So, but I love that Snapchat's really been innovative and been ahead of the game in doing these kinds of things. It does also bring up the issue of what control is going to be in place for us to say that it's allowed at our events or not allowed at our events from a broadcasting rights perspective. So it'd be interesting to see how that aspect of it is tackled over time.
So yeah. I think with that, by the way, I think that what's going to happen is, I think, if I'm for instance, they had this in place beforehand with the event with Lord and with Snapchat. They knew that, that they had something in place. I've worked at very large events before, 20,000 plus people. And so there's a lot that goes into this sort of stuff. I think that, they'll have that sort of stuff in place to kind of like limit what's actually going to be like usable, what people can kind of do at the time. That, or either they'll have Snapchat, for instance, might be unnoticed, and Snapchat has a team, or they might be automatically pulling certain things if things are not supposed to be shared. By the way, I do want to share it. By the way, Nick, do you mind if I share a video of this real quick?
No, go for it.
Okay. So hopefully everybody, you guys see the video? I think you should, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got the video. Basically, I mean, this is basically how it works. And I will say it is a little shaky, like it says it smooths out the audio, but personally, I don't really think it smooths out the audio that much. I thought that it was a little, what's the word I'm looking for? I thought that the audio was kind of,
it's not playing right now, Christian. Should it be playing?
Here, let me just check that. There we go. So it may look like a normal YouTube video, but basically it's capturing different Snapchat snaps.
Perspectives. Yeah, it's from different perspectives. And their plan is to have it be the entire song be seamless. So that's the goal. Assuming that they find enough snaps at an event that are playing, that are recording during the song. I don't think they'll have a problem doing that. I think much like Lauren had said, probably some concerns that'll be interesting to see is when somebody's doing something that they want on their story for their followers, but not being shared to a massive Snapchat audience. Now, I'm assuming that this will be a choice as well, that they have to choose to put it to the Snapchat story.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But I think they already said that personally you have to choose. I think that was somewhere in the article. But I'm also thinking from the business perspective, because, like when Facebook rolls out features and they give them to some elements first, like celebrities get it first and everyone else doesn't, and then everyone's like going, I want to get it, and the same with page verifications. People are like, they won't verify my page, it's unfair. Like, at some point are we going to get people going, why can't I have this at my event? What's going to be the requirements to be able to do this? Obviously you need a large number of people who are potentially using the app for it to be able to crowdsource enough data to be able to piece these things together. But that will be an interesting thing as well, because we'll have the haves and the have-nots in terms of this feature, I think, which could have some issues.
So I want to ask the question here, because you bring up a really good point. Like, do you also, and one of the challenges Snapchat has is generating revenue. Do you think that this could be a monetary play for Snapchat?
Absolutely.
For example, maybe I go to, in this case, I'm not going to the users.
Did you lose Christian there, Lauren?
I'm going to, for instance, can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out.
Okay.
Have another go.
Let me see if I can change that. So is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wondering if this might be a good monetary play for Snapchat. And what they could end up doing maybe is go to the artist and say, hey, we would like to almost do like a pay-per-view type thing in a way. Like, hey, somebody can't be at the concert. It's another layer of, hey, here's the expensive ticket price. Here's a smaller, view of that. Here's the live stream, for instance. Here's the Snapchat piece of that. I'm wondering if maybe they go to an artist and say, hey, you know what? We want to feature, have your app be one of our test cases or whatever, and then have some sort of monetary play where the person says, hey, I have a Snapchat based audience. For example, you're not going to have, the Eagles, for instance, are not going to probably be using this feature, Snapchat Crowdcast, Snapchat Crowd Surf. My bad. That was Google Crowd. I think that was a different tool. But I think that they could go to some of the more, mainstream artists that are, geared towards the Snapchat audience and potentially say, hey, you know what, we're going to have a monetization play here.
I think that's one way that they'll monetize. I think the other is maybe they'll have some built-in ads across the bottom of an ongoing story.
Yeah, and I think if anyone's developing any of these types of features these days without some sort of monetization strategy in place, they're doing it wrong.
Right.
But they need to, particularly given the position that Snapchat's in at the moment. It needs to get some more cash in the door. So if we're developing new cool features like this, we want to have some way that we can make money off it. But the thing that kind of I can't wrap my head around how that could possibly be at this stage, because like the model Christian said there, he was kind of like there, and then down here is the Snapchat feed. Like, the quality's not going to be great. So, but whilst the quality might not be great, that might be where the eyeballs are. So that's the trade-off, I suppose, from an advertising point of view.
But Christian, one of the ways that we saw, remember Twitter rolled out a feature where you'd have like a behind the scenes video at one point. What I could see Snapchat, with the hashtag. What I can see Snapchat doing with this is you see all this choppy, as Lauren was saying. It may not be the greatest video feed, but maybe they have their new link feature. And if you'd like a higher quality video, maybe click this link, and you get some sort of extra incentive. They have some sort of incentive built in that you get to go and see this, or you get this behind the scenes featurette that you wouldn't normally have. I can see that.
And they could do that. The other thing actually you could do with this is, for example, this concert already happened. You could take this and you could have a preview that you could tie into your marketing for your future concert dates, and be like, hey, here's what happened when we were in, Wichita, Kansas, or whatever. And then here's what happened when we were in, Lima, Ohio, for instance, and other places and whatnot.
Right.
So there are a lot of different angles I think could happen here. By the way, Ruth mentioned Snapchat could monetize this feature in the short run. Ruth, would love to actually hear if you have any suggestions on ways they could monetize this that we haven't, talked about here.
And that wraps up. While we're waiting for Ruth to comment in the chat, I want to thank everybody for being here. Christian, you got a couple of tools for us tonight?
Yeah, I do. Actually, did we? Did you guys have the Instagram feature as well, or did we?
If we did have it, I guess I didn't open the link. Was there a link in there? Yeah, there is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it was one last topic.
Yeah, I missed it. So this is from Instagram blog. Keep the conversation going with comment threads. So, and this came out this week. Today, we're making conversations about Instagram posts even easier by adding comment threads. Comment threads help you keep track of conversations and make it easy to respond to a specific thread. This update will make your feed an even better place to share interests, get inspired, and connect with others. Now, when you hit reply underneath any comment, your response will automatically be grouped right underneath it in a thread. This certainly looks like Facebook to me. This looks like further integration of Facebook and Instagram.
By the way, I'm going to pull up the screen real quick so people can see what this looks like.
I agree. It's very similar to what it was, obviously what's already on offer in Facebook. But I also think it's required. It's a bit like, we said in terms of the pinching on Pinterest. It's like, why haven't you got this already? Because we've grown to know that this is how to do it. And I find as a user of Instagram, it's really hard to reply to people, particularly if you can't remember exactly what their username is. So this is going to make it, if you've been further up the screen and you're scrolling down, you're trying to tag someone, and you can't really remember what their name was by the time you got down there, or maybe that's just me that has that problem. And then this is going to alleviate that because we can just reply straight to them. So I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I think with bigger glitch that they need to fix that they haven't fixed, Lauren, in that same vein, is that when you reply and the person's tag and it just won't show up, so you have to spell the whole thing out. They need to fix that before they fix that. I feel like that's a bigger problem than this.
Totally agree.
And I had that same problem actually on Facebook, for example. If I go to tag somebody, sometimes, Lauren, I do agree. Like, you forget what the person's username is. Like, you might be replying to a comment, and it's like, oh, hey, I know their first name, but like, how do I spell their last name? And it's not pulling it up. Sometimes I have to like type it in, delete it, and then start typing a character and be like, oh yeah, okay, let me remember the first couple characters. Nick and I actually were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, we were
about spelling, how to pronounce people's names. But I think it's the same thing. Like, we're in I guess the times now are, people aren't really paying attention to, they're not paying attention to how you pronounce somebody's name, how you spell things. It could be a basic word, but our attention is just like, lasered in on like, let me reply versus who am I actually replying to. By the way, this feature is not available yet. It is going to be rolling out in version 24 and later for both iOS and Android. Sorry, getting my platforms mixed up there. iOS and Android will be rolling out. I'm still going to say the same thing. I think at some point, maybe even this year, who knows, Facebook and Instagram are going to combine. I think they are. They kind of have to, because the next feature of this is what? It's going to be the ability to sort your comments based on popularity, for instance, chronologically, so I think at some point they are going to have to combine.
Yeah.
Well, they've already combined in terms of the business perspective, the inbox that you've got for messaging.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do see that that's going to happen, and we'll have some sort of super platform. Because I would love if there was one place I could go to that I could see both my Facebook and my Instagram feed. Like, that would just be awesome. So,
but what's the point of the two? I guess that's the other question. Like, why do you need both?
Well, that's what I was going to say. If that was possible, then all those people that are duplicating content on multiple platforms really will need to change their strategy, because they'll just come off even more so as spammers, or potentially not have their content being seen because Facebook will, I don't know, somehow realize it's duplicate content or whatever. So, yeah, but I agree with you. Like, Facebook and Instagram are getting so similar these days, but the problem is that some people will prefer only one over the other, and also the way you the audiences you develop and the relationships that you have with it can be different on the different platforms. Like, for example, we one of the companies we manage is a pool cleaning company, and on Instagram it's all really inspirational and aspirational images and beautiful images and all that kind of stuff. But then on Facebook we have we talk more about like the franchise itself and other aspects of it. So we've developed two different audiences and using two different platforms totally differently for the same company. If those were to combine, I don't know, it would be a bit of a mess too. So I still think there's a place for both, but at the same time, for some people, they just prefer one.
I think I would prefer one over, but I am not a huge user of either of the two platforms. But no, I take that back. I'm not like you said. You have your platforms where you spend time, and you just don't need more platforms. So I think I would agree with you that having it in one place would certainly be preferred by me. I could definitely go for that, because if I'm in one, I don't want to have to close out of one, go to the other. So I still use both Facebook and Instagram for mostly personal stuff, not business, except for a Facebook page for the company.
And by the way, if anybody, for those of you watching, I mean, if you do have any thoughts on that, whether hey, what do you use Facebook for? What is your Facebook page for? And what's your strategy for your Instagram channel? Do you have a strategy? I'd love to actually hear from everyone who's viewing, whether you're watching it live, watching the replay.
Yeah, that would be great. Christian, how about some tools for us tonight?
Yeah, let's talk tools. I've got two tools for everybody tonight. We have the first one called Greenscreen Pro. And this is actually a really, really, really neat app. It's for your iPhone, but basically what it is it's a way for you in real time to do green screen editing. Basically, that's replacing the background on photos and whatnot, or in this case, on video. Typically, you have to set up a green screen. For instance, behind me could be essentially a green screen. And then, you have to trace me out and then change the colors, make sure I'm not wearing green, all that sort of stuff. But this actually does it right in the iPhone app. It's $15. Seems a little expensive, but it actually is not compared to what you would pay for very expensive editing like software. For example, if you want to use Final Cut Pro, you want to use Final Cut Pro. I think you can do it in ScreenFlow. We talked about that last week. If you've got iMovie does a very crude screen replacement, but this is right on your mobile device. So use it to replace your background with some of the pre-recorded ones, or if you have one for your business, it's fantastic. For example, behind me, I could have my logo, it's called Step and Repeat. I could have that basically behind me showing the logos for my business. Very, very, very neat app. So that's the first one we have for everybody.
Cool. What else have we got?
Let me pull that one up, by the way. And I'm going to drop these in the chat real quick. And by the way, Lauren, have you used any of these?
Yeah, I actually got that app a couple of years ago, and I was using it a little bit, but I found it a bit glitchy back then. So it's still on my phone, but I don't use it too much. One of the things I think, have you tried using it yourself, Christian? Because I think you do still have to have a solid coloured background behind you, and you can choose which one.
Do. Yeah. Yeah, and you do need, but I like the fact that you can do it on mobile. So instead of having to say, hey, let me record this video, let me add it to my project library on my laptop, and then let me do my editing. I can do it right there on the device. The person that makes this, actually, they make some really good apps. It's a guy named Joe Allen, makes some really good stuff.
Yeah, so I've used it a few years ago, but I haven't used it recently, and so I'd be keen to go in and play with it again. I know it's great also, as you said, because it's on your phone, you can just draw in those images that you've already got on your phone and then put them in the background, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and Danik's asking, is it only recording, not live streaming from mobile content, right? Yeah, it's only mobile recording. They haven't gotten the live stream piece tied into it. I mean, you have to kind of think about it. It's a lot of processing power to have to do that. So trying to do it during a live stream is actually very process intensive. For example, like my webcam that I'm using a 4K webcam. It has a background feature. And if I try to actually edit the background right now, sometimes it will cut off my arm, my shoulder, my head. It doesn't do a great job with the background rendering. And you would think this camera showed it's like $200. It is, when you see software that does it, it has a lot of stuff behind it that's doing it, like algorithms and whatnot. So that's tool number one. Tool number two for the week is Giphy Says. Giphy, however you want to pronounce it. Very neat. You can also kind of get the same feature with Apple's Clips app. But basically, you can use your voice, record, and then you can turn that into an animated GIF. Very, very, very easy. It's a whole other piece of content you can create. We can create that out of this if we want to, as topics are showing up and whatnot. But that's tool 2 for the week.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah. Can I give a little bit of a tip for anyone that tries to use this app?
Sure. Yeah.
You need to hit the record button and just wait a bit before you start saying anything. And you can probably only get 2 or 3 words in. Like, it's a short duration thing. So it's not the kind of thing that you would just, use to educate people or anything like that. It's like a GIF or a GIF or wherever we're going, whichever version we like of that. It is short and sharp, and only a few words will appear on the screen.
Okay. So it should be, you probably want to use it for entertaining and catchy kind of things to do.
Yeah, and you'll need to take a few takes.
And a few takes, actually. I haven't used it, but I think this one would be fun to use.
And it's free, by the way.
Okay, excellent. So that just about wraps it up for the evening. I want to thank Lauren for being here tonight. Thank you so much, or today, for Lauren. Thank you so much. Where can people find you, Lauren? How can they get in touch?
Well, my business is Impactivate, so you can find me all those different places online that we've spoken about tonight as Impactivate. And also I have a podcast which is called Business Addicts, and it's for anyone who's addicted to business. We help feed the addiction, and we also help better manage the addiction as well. So lots of good content in that show. And
what is the website for that show?
businessaddicts.com.
businessaddicts.com.
And Impactivate is impactivate.com.au.
Okay, impactivate.com.au. Excellent.
Chat for everybody.
Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all of our friends for sticking around. Thank you, Ruth and Danica. Appreciate you guys sticking around. I hope everyone has a lovely night. And Christian, any last words before I end the recording?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell everybody thanks a lot for tuning in to, for tonight's show. We'll be broadcasting, I think, next week at 10 p.m., right? Same time?
Correct.
I think we're going to be using, I think we're going to be back to Facebook Live next week. We're going to, again, we're kind of experimenting with this because technology doesn't always play nicely, especially if you're relying on an internet connection. But next week we're going to have, who we're going to have? We're going to have Joanne Crawl on actually next week.
That's right.
Organizer, clearing a path to peace of mind. So we're going to have her on next week, learn some more about, the latest social media news from the week, and also, learn more about what Joanne's doing in her business, what's working, what's not working, and whatnot. So we hope you'll tune in. 10 p.m.
Looking forward to it. All right, all. Well, thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.